So we're not going to take 2025 problems into the new year. This year is almost in the rear view, which makes now the perfect time to get honest about your money and what you can do differently in 2026. So here are 26 things to do before the end of December. The first thing you're going to do is write down 3 money decisions that you regretted this year and the reasons why. Chances are you've made some choices that didn't exactly help your wallet, or else you probably wouldn't be watching this video. So you're going to be honest and very specific and pinpoint at least 3 things that you got wrong this year. And if you're struggling to be real with yourself, approach it as if you had a front row seat to a friend self-sabotaging. No excuses, no sugarcoating, just the facts. Next, pinpoint the single worst purchase of the year. There's always that one thing that makes you shake your head. So figure out what made it the worst purchase. Was it the cost, the timing, or the fact that you never used it? And then decide what you'll do differently next year to avoid repeating it. Audit how much money you paid in late fees and interest over the past 12 months. So your homework is to dig through your statements and add up how much you gave away. And hopefully it'll sting enough to motivate you to stay on top of your payments, whether that's through better organization, self-control, or increasing your income. Next, add up the cost of items you donated. So basically, you're going to put a dollar amount on that pile of stuff that you got rid of, because seeing just how much of your money walked out the door can be eye-opening. You're also going to reflect on those moments where you felt financially stressed. Stress is usually a sign of a gap, and that can be unexpected bills, debts piling up, or overspending. So pinpoint the exact cause and build a plan to prevent it. Next, write down one thing that you swore that you would do financially this year, but you didn't. We all say that this year we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but then life happens. So write down what you didn't follow through on and ask yourself why it didn't get done without blaming anyone else. You're also going to calculate how much you spent on eating out. So take your head out the sand, grab your statements, and do the math. Because most people are shocked to see how quickly dining out can add up compared to what they could have cooked at home. Review your just-in-case purchases that you still haven't used, because that backup item or extra thing that you thought you needed but didn't could have been money sitting in the bank. You're also going to figure out how much money you spent on things that you could have borrowed. This includes one-time use tools and other equipments, because there's a chance that at least one person in your circle owned one of these items and they would have been happy to lend it to you. Next, you're going to track how often on a monthly basis you shop because you're bored. Boredom shopping is sneaky because it doesn't feel like you're overspending in the moment, but those little just because purchases add up. So write down when it happens, what triggers it, and how much you spend on average, and then create a go-to list of cheaper or free ways to fill that time so shopping isn't your default. You're also going to look at how many times you purchased duplicates because you forgot what you already owned. Ever find 2 of very similar items hiding in your closet? If so, that's money down the drain. Yet a quick home inventory could have prevented all of this. You're also going to audit your seasonal purchases to see what you actually use. And if the majority of those items sit untouched, skip buying new next year and make better use of what you already own. I also want you to review your savings rate by month. Did it grow, shrink, or stay flat? This will show you if you're improving or slipping without realizing it. And as a side note, aim to save at least 5% of your take-home pay to build your emergency fund. You're also going to calculate how much you could have saved monthly had you put a cap on eating out, buying coffee, and other similar purchases. I like to call this the what if check, and the number may shock you into making different choices next year. And then you're going to look at everything that you prioritize instead of saving, and then consider if it was worth it. Every single dollar has a job. So the question you need to ask is, did I give too many to the things that didn't really matter in the long run? You're also going to evaluate whether your emergency fund can actually cover an emergency. So if your car broke down or you lost your job, how long would your savings last? And if the answer makes you nervous, that's a clear sign to beef it up. And as a side note, some people believe that $1,000 is a big enough emergency fund, but that is just a starting point. The aim should be a minimum 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And you're also going to stop believing that building a sufficient emergency fund is impossible. Saving 3 months of living expenses can sound overwhelming, but the key is really to just focus on 1 month at a time. Even if it takes you a year or longer, progress is progress. You're also going to calculate your net worth change from January until now. Even if you don't love numbers, this one's pretty simple, and it's essentially your assets minus your debts. And once you have this number, figure out whether you grew or shrunk this year. Make a list of financial lessons that you learned the hard way. Hard lessons are unfortunately expensive, but only wasted if you don't learn from them. Next, you're going to review which emergencies were really just planned expenses that you ignored. The truth is, things like irregular bills and fees shouldn't really be catching you off guard, especially if they happen every quarter or yearly. So create a separate sinking funds for these expenses and set money aside so they stop feeling like surprises. You're also going to identify those situations where you were reactive with money instead of proactive. For example, did you only start budgeting for back to school shopping once August hit? Or did you wait until rent was due to actually check your account to make sure you had enough money? And then ask yourself, what money move this year set you back the most? Maybe it was the car loan you couldn't afford, or the 6 to 8 trips that you convinced yourself that you deserved, even though you're currently still paying for them. You're also going to name 3 money habits that need to stay in 2025. Because not all habits deserve to come with you into the new year, so be honest. And likewise, you're going to imagine your 2026 self, because future you will be extremely grateful for the habits you set up now. So think about what would make their life easier, then do it. You're also going to identify one area where you will commit to underconsumption in 2026. And this means being mindful and not cheap. So pick one area, whether it's clothes, personal care items, or eating out, and then commit to dialing it back a bit. And finally, create a list of money traps that you fell into this year. This might include always falling for impulse sales, adding more subscriptions, or giving into lifestyle creep. We're all probably guilty of at least one, so write them down, because seeing them in black and white can make them much harder to ignore.